Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and welcome to today's market analysis review for September 4, 2017. If you haven't been watching these daily analysis reviews, then it's a good idea to keep up with them. Make sure that you keep up to date with the continuity that's in these analysis videos. The reason is that we follow the same pairs every day. There's about 20 of them, and it's just a good idea to be able to, get into rhythm with the market and understand what's going on. Alrighty, so let's get straight into it. First of all, we'll start with gold. Okay, so around this time last week, I was pointing out this trend alert here. Now, at the time, it was close to the top of the chart, so I was suggesting to go cautious. Now, it busted right through that high at the time, went on to this point here, about 3,500 pips, corrected, and then entered a new trend trade here. So currently sitting around 4,500 thereabouts pips from a price of about 1,290 in the gold price to current price of 1,337. 6 out of 6 high time frames are pointing up. No looking like at any change in direction on this one, but at the same time, I don't suggest you go chasing trades. At this point, it's really moved pretty high. If you did want to look at the opportunity, maybe drop down to a shorter time frame like the 15-minute. You can see here the market gap occurred on the market open or the weekend gap, and if you were trading long on Friday, then you would have benefited from that. Of course, it can go the other way as well, but if you're holding your trades over the weekend, sometimes you get these big gaps, and they can either work in your favor or against you. So right now, I would be looking at maybe a shorter term time frame, or just waiting for it to settle back. Maybe on the 1 hour even, it's really high on the MACD here. Maybe if it settles back down, you could look at a swing up. That's about as far as I can say for gold at the moment. It has moved quite a bit. So if you did catch any of those trades, then congratulations. Otherwise, wait for another opportunity. Okay, Euro's been rallying quite strongly for quite some time. It entered a new trend trade and then a swing trade to the downside. Now the MACD is still below the zero line, so the pressure is on the euro to the downside. Now, if it does cross over here, the gold moving average crossing the grey moving average, and the trend follower turning to green, then it could end up being a good long trade, but a lot's got to happen for that to occur. If it did, then you've got a nice reference point for this high here. So you got about 140 pips, depending on where it closes, and maybe 40 pips or so for the stop. But right now, I'd be looking for another swing to the downside. But yeah, as I said, if it doesn't occur and it starts trending up, then look for a trend to the upside. So as I always say, my only loyalty is to the market. I think that's a good policy as a trader. You don't want to be stubborn in your decision. You want to be seeing what the market is doing and go in that direction. Alrighty, so pound has been a little slower on the up rise than the euro, but it looks like it may be occurring now. It's contrary to the euro, it is 4 out of 6 high time frames pointing up, and another swing upward could see it rally further northwards. Now, if the price collapses and there's another bidirectional market comes into play, and there's a crossover to the downside, then could be an opportunity to go short. But for now, it's looking at going long. Euro pound, for the last 2 weeks, I've been talking about this one potentially flipping. It looks like it has. There's been a trend trade to the downside and followed by 2 swings. Now, we are under pressure. Price is under pressure on the euro pound. If it swings down again, could be a good opportunity. It'll immediately change to a 4 out of 6 higher time frames pointing down. So this is on the 4 hour, of course. So if you do get a swing on this one, then that could be a nice trade. Maybe 50 odd pips or 40 pips for the stop, but potentially about 150 pips to this low, and it keeps on going from that. On the other side, if it does start, if price starts rallying and we see a new trend trade, then that could be a good trade to go long. Remember, with the euro pound, it's been going long for a long time. This is on the daily, so you can see back as of May or even before. So it is still very much in a daily upward trend on the daily chart, just to make things a little more complicated. And the weekly is still in a weekly upward trend. So if you are going to take this 4 hour as a short on another swing, or maybe on a shorter time frame, then you want to just be cautious and try to move your stops to break even fairly quickly, just in case there's another upward move. Now, pound Swiss, opposite of the euro pound, pretty much a reverse correlation of it. And this one's been moving down for quite some time, still 4 out of 6 pointing down. But if it does swing up, this will change to a green and it'll suddenly be bidirectional. Now, it is in the middle of, in the early stages of an upward trend trade. So this one, if it swings up, could be a nice one to catch to the upside. Now you're looking at, again, about 40, 50 pips for your stop, and about 170 odd pips to this major high, and even further, about almost 300 pips to this high up here. So, it could be a nice one to the upside. Aussie's bidirectional at the moment. It's been very messy, and it's been difficult for me to really establish the direction on this. Well, in other words, I've been looking at easier trades. The Aussie has been going for a bit of a roller coaster ride, and today I still see the same thing. I'm not really that interested in this Aussie. Kiwi on the other side has been moving down. It's been under pressure for quite some time. So if you've been shorting it, you've probably done well. Now, looking at it on the daily is interesting to note, because we've had a trend trade to the downside, then we've had two swings a few days apart, and price still remains under pressure. So just from this perspective, it seems that that price could continue to go down, and if there was some more upward movement and there was a swing down, there's not a lot in it at this stage, but you might be able to catch it as a decent trade to this low. If it breaks through this support, then it could go much lower. And one of the things that is keeping it under pressure is the Aussie Kiwi has just been continuing to go up and up and up, pretty much one direction only for the last couple of months. Or at least the last few weeks. So if you start seeing this change to bidirectional, then there might be some movement to the downside on the Aussie, and that's what I've been pointing out for the last 2 weeks, just to keep note of that. If you're looking at shorting the Aussie, you ideally would like to see the Aussie Kiwi moving downwards. Okay, dollar CAD under a lot of pressure. It did rally up here, and I know some members did really well on this particular one. But since then, it's crossed over. It's actually turned out to be a really nice short, although I didn't recommend it at the time because it was at some support level. So it hit about 150 pips. If we look at it on the daily, we can see now that it has busted through that previous support. But where it goes from here, maybe it'll find some support and find some strength in this week. Ideally for the dollar CAD, you would want to find it breaking above this support line here, right along here. Now it's just a little bit below that, so we want to see that occur before having more confidence in it to the upside. Now it is downward in nature right now. 4 out of the 6 high time frames are pointing down. Could easily go to 5 with a swing down. This 4 hour swing will change to red, so 5 out of 6 would be pointing down. So there's no trade in it as far as I can see. If it moves up, corrects up, and then swings down, then there could be a short. If it continues to move up, then maybe in a bidirectional market at the very least, look for trades in a shorter time frame, potentially to the upside if the price is rallying. Dollar Swiss is a little bit easier to work out. It's pretty much the reverse correlation of the euro, and the euro is under pressure Dollar Swiss has been moving upward, but it has been a pretty rough ride, not smooth sailing at all. Now, if we get a nice swing on this bar or the next bar, say up to here, then that might be okay. Of course, 4 out of 6 of the high time frames are currently pointing down, so there's a bit of a contradiction here between the euro and the dollar Swiss. So that could very easily change to bidirectional market, and if it swings up, then there could be some potential for more movement up to the upside. On the other hand, if we do see more of a collapse and the moving average crossover trend follower changing to red, then all bets are off for a long. But at this stage, I would be looking more at going long than going short, even though it's showing 4 out of 6. This is just telling me to stay out of the market right now. But once it swings up, if it swings up, then there could be some potential to the upside. Dollar yen is under pressure as well. Had this nice rally here, the swing at the end of the week, which is a good reason never to take or be extremely cautious with the trades that you take on the on the ending hours of the close of the week on Friday is never a really good idea. In this case, the market gapped to the downside, so if you did take that long, it didn't work in your favor. Currently, 4 out of 6 higher time frames are pointing down. If the trend follower changes to red, then we could be more in line with a downward move. However, it's a bit difficult to tell at this stage, so I'm on the sidelines on the dollar yen. Interestingly, it's just changed to a upward trend move on the daily. However, price has already dropped below where I see it as being void. So in other words, this or valid rather. So in this case, I would see this trade as a void. There would have to be plenty of upward movement for this trade to actually still be okay. So back to the 4-hour on the dollar yen. Euro yen has also been under pressure. That's pretty much the theme of the day, isn't it? Under pressure. 4 out of 6 higher time frames are pointing down. Euro is experiencing weakness, and so too is the euro yen as a result. Again, look out for flips. If the price starts moving upward, we get a bidirectional change in the market, then maybe look at a shorter time frame for another opportunity to go long. Now, it won't exist on this 15-minute now because we're just looking already at that on that 4 hours, some big moves to the downside. The market gapped big time on the open of the market, about 50 pips. So if you were shorting, then that's fantastic. But if you were going long at the time, not so good. So you need to be really careful with trades that you leave open. So we could see a bidirectional change in the market. It's just really too early to tell. I would be more interested in that than shorting it at this stage. But you never know. If we'll just have to see price action. It's always a little tricky on Mondays, even though there's the continuity there from the previous week. But as you can see, in this case, we see a lot of market gaps in the market. Okay, pound yen. It is starting to move to the downside. If we get the trend follower changing to red, then it could be a valid trade. And the pound would be more interesting the pound yen would be more interesting to short than the euro yen because of the weakness in the pound. However, we are starting to see strength of the pound now, with the pound Swiss going up, the euro pound going down, and this is just a natural event in the market with the euro and the pound changing batons or passing the baton to each other for who's the stronger of the two. That may be what's happening right now. However, look, if we see right now it's gone into trend trade, but if this price moves dramatically up, particularly before it closes, then we're still in on an upward move. It's just had these recent price collapses. Aussie yen, again, if we see weakness in the Aussie, then this may be an opportunity to short. But I'm not really looking at shorting any of the yen crosses at the moment. Kiwi yen under pressure, just like the Kiwi itself, but no real trade here. So unfortunately today we haven't really seen a lot of good trade opportunities, but we'll go back and revise in a moment. CAD yen, CAD's been showing more strength because dollar CAD's been going down, so making the CAD Canadian dollar stronger. It's moving up, but it is a bidirectional market, and it's just, again, not one that I'd be interested in. Not really interested in the yen crosses at all at the moment, but that's the thing in trading. You want to pick what's the easiest going right now, and so stick with them for the day or for the week. And trading, it's all about change. Things change all the time. So what pairs may not look like good opportunities or good easier trades, more likely of success today, may be tomorrow. So Swiss yen also following Euro yen's suit of moving down with weakness, but that this could all change once the London market, the European market comes online very shortly. So Euro Aussie, again, we had some great results with this over the last 2 weeks to the upside, and if we get some weakness in the Aussie now, then it could change this this downward movement. So you can see it's bidirectional at the moment. We've seen some decent moves to the upside overall. It's still really early in the week to start making judgment calls, particularly when the European market hasn't come online yet. But here's one, 1 hour. This could be a decent opportunity. It's a little jaggedy because of the market gap to the upside, but nevertheless might be the most decent trade opportunity we've seen. About 40, maybe 45 pips for the stop, and for the nearest reference point high, we've got about 80 pips. So almost 2-to-1 reward factor. This high here, 130 pips, so 3-to-1, and ultimately here about 220 pips with a 40 pip stop. That's over 5-to-1 reward or ROI, if you want to look at it that way, return on investment. There's a pretty good risk reward ratio. Pound Aussie, also bidirectional, never really took off over the last 2 weeks and been really, really noisy as hell. That's what I call it. This almost looking like static. If you look at it on the 1 hour, then there could be an opportunity, not the most nicest looking of trades. Let's see if we can find a better looking trade set up. Maybe not 15 minute, I'll change to. Okay, so there we go. We've got an opportunity there on the 15 minute. You've got about 20 pips for your stop, about 35 pips for your high. Probably at this high, I'd really be interested in moving my stops to break even, because you are on a 15-minute time frame here. So treat it as a scalp. And if it goes any further than this, if it breaks through this resistance, then you could be up for a decent trade. Flicking it back to the 1 hour, you can see that that's the reference point that we're looking at. But it can go way beyond that. It can go. Sorry, it's over here for the 35 pips, but we've got 90 pips in this, so it could be a nice one. So Euro Aussie and Pound Aussie. Euro Aussie being the more better looking trade setup. This one's very noisy, and the trend followers very flat. So let's have a look at the Euro Kiwi. Also been going really well. I know quite a few members did well on this pair over the last 2 weeks. Gave some fantastic trade setups. 500 pips, wow, over that to the high. And if you had kept it to here, and maybe if your second trade or your position didn't survive this consolidation, although it really wasn't much of a correction. It was consolidation more than anything, but then caught in on the swing again. That's the way to play it. Get in and get out, make your money, make your pips, convert it into capital, and then take another trade setup when it occurs. But this would have been just a classic one of being able to hold on. You probably, this correction here would have been taken out if you had survived this consolidation. But anyway, what do we do from here? Let's drop down to a shorter time frame, maybe a 1 hour. Hasn't eventuated here, but you've got some nice movements on these crosses. So that gives me the feeling that the euro and the pound may start rallying again this week, and the Aussie Kiwi may start falling, just on looking at these pairs alone. So what are we on, the 30 minute? Okay, so here we go. We've got a euro Aussie on a 1 hour. Just get rid of that. All right, so just for fun, I'm going to take the trade. So I'll click yes, and there you go. Entry has been taken, and stops have been moved just dynamically below that slow moving average. Of course, if you're new to Trend Profiteer, pretty much everything is customizable. We've done that deliberately to suit both the beginner trader, but also the savvy trader who wants to change settings. And I suggest that you all do look at trades on a trade-by-trade basis. So, okay, here's the gold one, and it's just like way too high for me. It would be, this is almost a suicide trade. And so I'm going to say no to this because it's just so far along already. Might look at it at a lower, and take a look at the stop itself to be under the slow-moving average is about 1,000 pips, and this is a blind faith one. I mean, who knows? I mean, it is very, very strong on the higher time frames, but I like to see my reference points, my highs in this case, as far as my target placements. It's only when we zoom out to the weekly that we can see, and this one may actually turn out to be okay, but it's not the type of trade that I would take at this stage because the horse is already bolted. This gold has been moving upward for quite some time. So anyway, let's go back and finish off. We were on the where were we? Euro Kiwi. All right, so Euro Kiwi, this is going to come up in half an hour. I don't mind this trade. Let's say it closes up. I'd like to see it, continue to move up a little bit, at least a little bit. So you've got about 35 pips or 40 pips for your stop, about 60 pips, 55 pips if you want to tuck in your profit just before the high. Good idea. Even 50 pips, because better to be safe than sorry, right? As price approaches this resistance, this high, it's going to possibly experience some resistance. There'll be, a whole bunch of bears waiting up around here, waiting to short it against this resistance. So you always need to be careful of what the other side's doing. And, trading is a zero-sum game. There can only be one as far as winner goes. I don't want to sound like Highlander, but that's pretty much how it is in trading. There can only be one winner. All right, pound Kiwi, 4 out of 6 high time frames are pointing up. This one is really high as well. If you did well on this, congratulations. Let's look at it on, say, the 15-minute. I'm dropping down on the time zones because I can already see that price movement. Let me just go back again. I can already see that this bar here has been moving up. So I'm just hunting for trade positions, and it looks like I found it straight away in the 15-minute. So this is a pretty decent trend trade. From here, it's about 20 odd pips for the stop at the least, and about 35 pips thereabouts for the high. So that's a pretty decent trade as well. Aussie CAD has been under pressure. All the CAD crosses have been pretty much under pressure. That's the Kiwi CAD, and they're not trades that I've been really interested in. Although this was a nice one, shorting that. Kiwi CAD as well to an extent, but it is already under so much pressure, Aussie CAD and Pound CAD. So it's interesting because they're following suit with the dollar CAD. That's placing the CAD in a more stronger position, and these pairs are following suit. So just to recap, let's have a quick revision of what I'm more interested in. Pound Kiwi, pretty good, especially on the 15-minute. There's a decent risk reward. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. And if it breaks through this high over here, take a look at it on the daily. You could if you survive that resistance. There's another 800 pips, and that's where you need to sort of make the decision of am I going to stay in this trade for the long term? You certainly wouldn't have to look for another trade. But on the daily, upward, and not quite there on the crossover for the weekly, but gee, if it eventually does, and Kiwi is under a lot of pressure, then this pair could move for quite some time. So 15-minute looks like the best bet at the moment, as of this session. Euro Kiwi 30-minute, it's looking right for a trend trade to the upside. Pound Aussie, not so much. Again, the euro it seems to be a bit stronger. Euro Aussie is fairly okay on the 1 hour. There's a decent reward here, so I always like to take trades which are offering a decent reward. Okay, the dollar yen just occurred to the south. What can I say? Continuation of global events. North Korea, there's just I wouldn't say unprecedented, but a heck of a lot of problems going on right now. So the only point I'm bringing up is it's placing the US dollar under pressure overall. Having said that, the dollar Swiss kind of has my eye if the euro continues to fall, and would make a valid swing trade. So let's have a quick look at the euro. See, I'm not totally convinced that it is going to fall. It is under pressure at this stage, but I would not be surprised if we saw a moving average crossover. And if that happens, it's going to go to 4 out of 6. That's going to be really good for the euro cross trades, like the euro Aussie and the euro Kiwi, particularly if we see weakness ongoing with the Aussie and the Kiwi. And it could be game on again for the euro pound as well. But we have to observe and accept the system at this stage. So it's not about guessing. It's about seeing what the indicators are providing us, and then interpreting our position as such. So pound, it's looking pretty weak, even though it's 4 out of 6. A nice big swing here, though, and everything could change. But if the euro does see some strength back, which, see it's back to bidirectional, then we could see weakness in the pound again. Euro pound might follow suit to the upside, and pound Swiss may start going back down again. And that might be a good one, a crossover here. If on the 4 hour, maybe on the 1 hour, there's a nice reward there now from this recent correction, about 160 pips, if you took it around here. Of course, it's not valid at this stage, but it may be. Let's just wrap up by taking a look at the pound Swiss a little bit more. So it already started on the 1 hour, not very strong though, and this retracement on this candle indicates at least a temporary upward move. So maybe just leave that one alone for now. But watch the markets. A lot of these pairs today are they could go one way or it could go the other. So keep track of how things are going. Good luck with your trading today. Till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.